today we have Mr. Gage Mitchell, who is going to be fighting this Saturday night in Lexington against Kendale Young from Reaction MMA here in Lexington, Kentucky. So, Gage, welcome to the show.
Good to be here.
So you're coming off a big win, man. The cousin of Anthony Pettis. You spoiled the party at the APFC show in Indiana. Anthony Pettis was running the event, had his cousin on the event, and you came in and ended his undefeated record. So how'd that feel?
It felt pretty good. I mean, I normally fight at 125, so I jumped up a weight class to fight him. And, I don't really try to get into politics or diss anybody, but I'm almost positive, I couldn't find a 125 fight, but then after I accepted the 135 fight, there's a 125 fight added. And then, so I'm almost positive I was brought up there to lose. So I was like, all right, well, I'm going to make this fight. I got a fight next month. I'm going to make sure this fight's not that exciting. I'm going to, just spoil his party in all sorts of ways. He's not going to have a highlight reel. I'm going to finish him, and there's just, he's going to get nothing out of it. So I went up there, put on, I just stuck to him like glue, just was outpointing him, made it to where, he couldn't really do anything, and then I submitted him, and that was that. And I was like, all right, now everywhere this guy goes, no matter what he does, it's going to have my name next to his record. And
That's right.
Help build me up. So I'm on to the next
one. I know he's got some hype on him because he got signed to he got signed to that Combat Global thing pretty quick as a pro, and definitely seeing a lot of hype. And he's from that, the Pettis family, that dynasty. So Anthony, Sergio, and whoever else they have.
Yeah, they had I'm sure he took like a year and a half off between his pro debut and fighting me, so I'm sure he was training with top level guys from like start to finish. But I train with UFC fighters myself, and I train with top level guys, so it wasn't nothing to me. I was like, I'm from this little town, I ain't got nothing to lose, everything to gain, and you didn't know who I was, but you do now.
Yeah, I see that a lot out of boxers from West Virginia. They'll bring them in, not really expecting much, then they'll pull off an upset here and there. And that may have been the case. That they may have thought you'd be a good test for him, but he could beat you. But came and pulled through and took the win. So yeah, congrats on that, man. I was pretty excited. I was pretty excited about that one. So I moved you up to 2-0 and beat one of the Pettis guys. Now you're fighting for us, so it made me happy.
Yeah, it definitely is gonna since I'm still early into my pro career, it's like, all right, but it's just the more I add W's, the more impressive that's gonna look. So that's gonna open a lot of doors for me in the future. But I'm kind of
he beat Pettis, but what else did he do? Yeah, okay, now he's 10-0.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's why I was like, man, that's why I really wanted to fight. He had a big name and jumping up a weight class, but I was like, all right, well, I was at 135 in Indiana. Now the next month I'm 125 in Kentucky. They're like, man, this man's all over the place. He's at this weight class. He's in this state. He's wrecking people, and that's why I just think winning another fight the very next month at a different weight class is going to look really good. They're going to be like, oh, he's not done yet.
So even at 25, are you cutting a lot for that, or do you think 115?
Yeah, it was pretty easy to make 35. I've done that so many times, but I normally walk around 145. I'd say.
Okay.
I normally cut 20 pounds, so it's a lot more strenuous to make 125. Yeah. I do it over time. Soon as my fight was over, the next week I started dieting, so it's not super brutal on my body, but it's harder to fight back to back. If you're doing 125, if I'm going to do it the safe way.
Yeah. I guess you just kind of, you get down to 35, all right, I just can't put on too much after this because I got to be 10 pounds lower next month.
I was like, all right, I got to go right back down pretty much.
So that was on April 7th, and now you got May 18th, so 6 weeks between, and you gotta get down to 25. So, yeah, I mean, even cutting from 45, that's a pretty good cut. 20 pounds to to a smaller guy. That's like just a much higher percentage of your body weight compared to somebody cutting
I
from
don't have
like
that much body fat, so
225 to 205. Yeah.
yeah. After I get to about 135, that's when it starts getting to like, all right, man, I'm running out of fat for real. It's about to turn into water.
Yeah. So I see you got a Muay Thai pro win. Had a pretty good, really good amateur career. I was just looking at your Tapology here. You kind of all across the board: grappling, kickboxing, Muay Thai, MMA. Doing a man that's doing everything. Any boxing? Is that something you've looked into?
I mean, I've been offered like I actually got offered a fight like a while back for like BKFC in like London, but or like it
Wow.
was like somewhere in England. I think it was like Manchester, someplace like not familiar with the England area, but I did not accept it. It was a way bigger weight class than me, so it was like
Okay.
105. And I was like, well, I'm gonna fight some giant monster probably, and then it's a bare fist colliding with my face. I'm not a big fan of that.
You're
So
going to come in, you're going to come in walking weight, and then they're going to cut probably 30 pounds, and there's going to be a 20-pound weight difference on fight day between you guys.
So
And
I
then,
in situations like that, like it's a good opportunity, but you just gotta weigh like money to damage output and everything. And
yeah,
it was a big opportunity, but you know I don't feel like it was the best option for me. And I'm not the biggest fan
yeah,
of the bare knuckle scene anyway. Like I don't know if I'm a big fan. I feel like you got to be really really tough to do something like that, but I feel like it doesn't take as much skill because you got some dudes that are compete like I'll use Mike Perry for example. Like he's a dog, absolute monster, but UFC's competing at that high level. He's just not winning. But he goes to
yeah.
BKFC. He's like all skills out the window. He's just a tough dude, so he's hard to beat. So I was
That's
just
something I could see some of these guys doing later in their career. Like all right, yeah, you start out 5-0, 6-0. Before long you're like 10-5. Somebody, all right, maybe I'm not cut out for MMA. Maybe I'll give this a chance now. But like early in your career, your risk. I mean, bare knuckle, you're going to come out with some cuts. Now you're going to deal with this scar tissue for the rest of your career, unless you have
really
some
young
of these
too.
surgeries.
I was like, right now it's probably not the best time to bust out something like that. But like professional boxing or something like that, I wouldn't be opposed
Yeah,
to. Just like I just know, like someone like me, I train. Like you've seen my resume. I fight everywhere. I train everywhere. But I feel like there's something different about boxing. It takes a real talent because I'm talking about fighting pro. These guys have 100+ AMI fights normally,
yeah,
and you're fighting these guys at pro, and they've been training only boxing for God knows how long. And I dabble in boxing, I dabble in this, dabble in that. So like, if I was going to like actively pursue boxing, I would want to actively just train boxing because I feel
yeah,
like you'll go out there thinking, oh, I'm gonna mix it up, and then you're like, man, this is not what I was thinking it was about to be, and then you get pieced up.
yeah. Some of these amateur fighters, as kids, they're fighting 25, 30 fights a year, like competition, not and then plus the sparring, plus the smokers. They're by the time they're 18, 19, they go pro at that age. They've had, like you said, 200, 300 fights, and
Yeah, I mean, I really
or
respect
more.
boxers in that aspect, but I mean, I really do
Yeah,
feel like it takes a special athlete to do MMA. Like, I feel like it's really out of every sport and combat sport I've participated in, I feel like it's the most draining. It takes
yeah,
the highest fight IQ. You got to mix it up, and that's what makes it so fun and entertaining. You could be fight somebody that's really really good at boxing, and then I can use something else to beat them. So like, there's many ways
right.
to come out on top. But you go into a boxing fight and you fight a better boxer, unless you knock him out, you're probably not winning a boxing fight.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
It's like, I mean, boxing is pretty deep, but it's one thing. If you get in there and you're the better boxer, they can't take you down, they can't kick you. So the better guy usually comes out ahead. Same with if it's just wrestling, right? The better wrestler is usually going to win because the other guy, like, not as physically strong. And that means a lot in wrestling too, the physicality of it, but that weaker guy can't choke you. They can't armbar you. The bigger guy, they can't just catch them. So it's one discipline. And with MMA, you've got so many different things. You can be, you could be, you have half the strength. You could have no stand up, and you could still get in there and slip an armbar on somebody. So it's you got to be so good. You got to be good at so many different disciplines to be a good mixed martial arts fighter.
Yeah, I believe MMA is like chess. Like sometimes you just get checkmate. Everybody's got a puncher's
Yeah,
chance. You might get caught. You might take someone down, be controlling the whole fight, and then like my fight with Angela Pettis, last 30 seconds, they throw up some crazy submission. You're like, wow, I just lost in the last 30 seconds, dude. And that's all that it takes.
that's all. Yeah, that's all it
And
takes.
I've actually been on the
Just one
receiving end
slip
of
up.
that. I lost one of my fights in the last 12 seconds. I was like, damn, dude, ain't no way.
I know the feeling. I dominated. It was an amateur fight back, God, dog, 20 years ago or something. Yeah, dominate. 3 3-minute rounds. Dominate up until a minute left in the fight, and then get caught in a choke and lose. So I know the feeling. Come out of the fight, the other guy looks like he just got jumped, and I look like I've just been running. So yeah, worst moment of my life, losing like that. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this, man. So I got you guys down. You guys are the co-main event on this card. Big pro fight for this, for this region, for this level of competition. It's a big fight. 2-0 versus, I think he's 2-2. And he looked really good his last time out. It was my first time seeing him fight, and he looked solid. He finished the fight pretty quick. See, he fought Cameron Taylor on December 9th. And so what did you take? I'm sure you've seen some footage on this guy. So what did you take from that?
I'm not really sure how old Kendale is, but I know like he's been fighting for a long time. Like I think he was fighting Amy when I was like 12 or 13 years old.
I
So
see that.
got
I'm
a big
seeing
age on
2013.
me. But he's been fighting a while, but I feel like and I don't want to be rude or anything, but I feel like he's on his way out and I'm on my way up. Like
Yeah.
he's a little bit older, he's been doing it a long time, but he hasn't been consistent with it. Like, I saw the only gap you see in between me and fights is I left for the Marine Corps for a couple of years and came back. But him, like, I saw he fought like for a couple of years, disappear.
Yeah.
Fight for a couple of years, disappear. Now, give it to him. Every time he comes back, he does look good. Like I think this is probably the best he's ever looked. He was mixing a lot of stuff together. So I'm thinking it's gonna be a very good fight. I think I'm taking him very seriously. I feel like he's got a lot of areas he's good in, but I feel like I'm just better.
Yeah.
I'm very disciplined. I'm very good in a lot of areas, and I feel like I'm going to be the bigger, better guy going into this fight. So, and everybody's got a puncher's chance, but I look to negate that and just
Yeah.
pose my will on him.
So his gym is something we've talked about a few times. Not you and I, but on this podcast, we've spoke to some of his teammates. I haven't got to talk to him yet, but I feel like our listeners, viewers are familiar with Reaction MMA. So Hayes MMA is new to us, and you and your teammates are going to be the first guys from Hayes competing here. So tell me a little bit about your gym. Where's it at? Tell me about the coaches and your teammates and what you guys have going on there.
So my main gym, Hayes MMA, is in Madisonville, Kentucky, which is where I live and reside. And we are a freestyle gym. We come from a kickboxing background. So my main coach, or the owner, Troy Hayes, is a former professional kickboxer. He only has like 1 or 2 losses on his record, and he's fought some big names too. I know he fought former training partner of Mike Tyson, or like one of the trainers, Mike Tyson. I'm not sure. His name's like Donnie T. I can't remember his name, but a lot of people know who he is.
Yeah.
And he's had a lot of big fights, a lot of knockouts. So if he knows anything, he knows kickboxing. But he's also trained with Gracie's and has been all over the world. And one of his big saying to a lot of people is he's like, I've had more time in the dojo bathroom than you have on the mat. So he's been all over the world, trained with multiple people from like Hoist Gracie to like, these big names, and has just learned many areas in the game, from Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu to, he been to seminars with I believe Gene LaBelle, and has learned
Oh wow.
judo from some top names, and has trained kickboxing with some of top tier kickboxers. So he's been all over the world training. And then I have a really close friend of mine, Nick Adcock, that was training with him. He's 30 years old, has been training with Troy ever since he was like 5 or 6, and he's learned almost everything you can imagine from Troy. So he's one of the big coaches up there. We got a wrestling coach that he teaches college and high school students. His name's Aaron Stevens. He's been around, wrestled at very high levels. I don't know. He's a big dude. I don't know if he ever went like up, but I think like
Yeah.
he went to like D2 D1 level. But just the knowledge he has and the amount of people he's trained with and taught, like he has a lot. So we got a lot of areas like that. And then I train a lot of places elsewhere. I train at Nice Guy Submission in Evansville. I train at Tag MMA in Morganfield, which is the main gym of UFC fighter Nathan Manis. And we have
Okay.
a former UFC fighter, Aaron Riley. He's one of the coaches at Nice Guys. So I gather a lot of information, and I always, run it back, and I train it and I drill it. So I go all over the place. I fight whatever city, whatever state. I go to whatever gym, wherever I feel like. I've been all over the country to train, and I take all the knowledge I gain and I come back and I apply it and drill it. So in our little gym, we might be a small town, but we do have worldwide knowledge and world class talent in there, and we're just drilling it, and we're going to showcase it this Saturday.
Awesome. Yeah, looking forward to that, man. And I'm gonna have to look up Troy and some of his kickboxing. So I haven't. I don't think I've heard of him before.
I have to
I've
get
seen a lot of.
tape. I don't know.
Yeah,
Way back when.
I'll be on YouTube. I don't know if he ever fought K1 or anything like that, but I'll see if I can find anything. Check him out. See. So we got Trevor.
His last fight, he like knocked a dude out in like 13 seconds, but they used to call him Lightning Foot, or like I think it was Thunderfoot, because anytime he front kicked somebody, it sounded like thunder went off. Apparently, that's somebody else talked about. But what about
so we got Trevor fighting John Norman, and tell me a little bit about Trevor.
Trevor Rickard, his nickname is Rough Country, and I would say that's like the definition of how he fights. Like he's just some like big old country dude.
Mm-hmm.
Big for his size anyway. I don't really think he's like some 300-pound monster, but he's just like a good old country dude, and his fighting style's rough, dude. Like sometimes it's not the prettiest, but he'll get up in your face, take a beating if he has to, and he'll just put his hands on you. And he's always up in your face no matter what, whether it's wrestling, grappling, striking, and he just likes to get in there, and he likes to get down and dirty, and that's why we call him Rough Country. And that's just
looks like that's going to be a good match. And John's
I know
more of
John's super skilled.
Yeah.
Like I've seen he's got really good wrestling defense, and he has a really crisp strike. And I told Trevor, I was like, you have to go in there. You just got to throw down. You're gonna have to back this dude up for real.
I've trained with John a little bit, and I just remember he had some really good footwork, and he was teaching some footwork drills one day, and I just could not pick up on it, man. I don't know. It didn't. I still can't figure it out. I was trying something new. I was hitting the heavy bag the other day, and it was like trying to work on some of that stuff that he showed me like 2 years ago, and I'm like, I can't do this. I'm just going to back up and jab. So we also have Franco. Is it Serpa, or how you say that?
Yeah, that's how you say it,
Franco Serpa. And so he's fighting Eric Kuhn, and I don't know a lot about Franco. I sent his info over to Eric. Eric looked him up. I was like, yeah, I'll take the fight. Eric is a karate. Well, he has a karate background. He was on the U.S. Olympic team for karate in, I think, 2020, which was like the only year U.S. had karate in the Olympics. But, yeah, he's a karate guy, fought for Karate Combat as well in their amateur division. So I believe I haven't watched any of Franco's fights. Eric told me he was more of a grappler. So looks like that may be a definite clash of styles, if so.
It's a lot of clash of styles, but the looks can be deceiving, So like Franco, he's pretty tall. He's like 6 feet tall, like give or take, really tall, and he's actually dabbled in Muay Thai. We've been training a lot of his Muay Thai over the last year or two. And he was actually 3-2 as an AMI in kickboxing. I'm not sure if Tapology showed more than one of the fights. It might be only one of them might be on there now. He lost that fight, but he actually
I'm not
has
sure.
a little bit of a kickboxing experience. But in MMA, I guess he throws all that shit out the window and just grapples for the most part. He hasn't really got to showcase any of his striking and really any of his MMA fights because he normally just, I think he's had 3 finishes in a row, 3 victories. Like his very first AMI fight, he got knocked out in a couple seconds. So really didn't get to showcase anything. Sometimes that happens. Then 3 fights in a row, they were all less than a minute. One fight was 30 seconds, one was 20, one was an actual minute. And he gets in there, he gets you on the ground, and as soon as you hit the ground, you're in a bad situation. It's over. So, but then he met another fight in MMA. His last fight was a title fight, and he met a really good wrestler. And when you meet a wrestler, sometimes it's hard to get him on the ground. And he got some lucky advantages in the grappling department, but the guy just imposed his will on him, negated all of his takedowns, and just stuck to him like glue. So Franco hasn't really ever got to show his striking. So he's had a couple decision victories in kickboxing, and he's lost one by TKO and one by decision. So we're really practicing, mixing up his striking into his grappling. So I'm looking to show a new side of Franco going into this Saturday. He's took 3 months off, and it's been even longer since I can't even remember. I think it's been since November last year, so 6-7 months since he's fought an MMA fight. So we're really looking to showcase some of the striking a little bit in this fight. But obviously Eric's super talented, pretty quick. He's a karate guy, so we're gonna. I feel like everybody knows this fight's gonna hit the ground, or Franco's gonna try to get to the ground. But if it does hit the ground, I'm very confident Franco's skills.
Yeah, I was gonna say if he's looking for a fight where he wants to stand and have another guy who will stand in front of him, this is it. But I don't know if this is the one you want to try that on. So Eric. Eric is pretty dangerous on the feet, but if Franco's got that big height advantage, maybe work some of it.
So that's impose the game plan or anything. Or do it, but that's pretty much. I was like, well, you really need to train stand up. I was like, because if you go out there and just spam a takedown, I was like, what if he's been training takedown defense? I was like, he's going to train for your strength. You need to train for his, and you never know. This might just turn into someone else's game plan. To the ground. If you don't have any striking skills, you're not going to win. So you got to be trained in everywhere, and that's just we're ready for anything.
Eric's been, I don't know how long he's been at Category 5 Jiu-Jitsu, but he's definitely improving a lot, and he's doing it fast because he's training multiple times a day. He still works full-time as well. But I guess, not being married, not having kids, that helps. So he can get in. All of his spare time is spent training. But from his first fight, he got just absolutely out-wrestled. And the whole fight, he lost the decision. Then his second fight, he was fighting another karate guy, and we were expecting fireworks on the feet. Eric came out and out wrestled that guy the whole time. So, he's definitely evolving, and his jiu-jitsu is coming along. So, looking forward to it because Franco looks like he's pretty good all around type of fighter, but more comfortable on the ground. Eric's starting to come around as a all-around fighter, but definitely comfortable on his feet a lot more. So that's definitely going to be a little clash, and see if Eric can keep it standing, see if Franco can get it to the ground. I'm looking forward to that one. Man, I'm looking forward to all these fights. Shoot, what am I talking about?
18 fights on the card. It's an insane amount.
We're up to 19 now.
19?
I didn't want to add it. And the guys were begging. I was like, listen, man, I got to be out of this place by midnight, or I got to pay extra. If I add you guys to the fight card, you have to stay and help me take the cage down so I can get out of there. So they agreed. They said they'll stick around and help me get that cage down. I'm like, all right, we'll add it to the card. So I'm gonna hold them to it. If I catch them going to the call, we're fighting in the parking lot. So yeah, up to 19 fights, man. Plus the grappling. I believe we have 7 or 8 grappling bouts on there as well.
Yeah, I
So we
believe
got.
Jonathan Rickard, which is the
Mhm.
the brother of Trevor Rickard, is actually grappling a guy from Category 5 Jiu-Jitsu. So it seems like we got
Yeah,
like, me and Trevor fighting 2 guys from Reaction, and then we got Franco and Jonathan fighting 2 or competing against 2 guys from Category 5. So we're going to have a little bit
yeah.
of some rivalries going on in there.
I don't have that fight card up right now. Let's see.
I believe it's Jonathan Rickard versus, I don't know the guy's first name, but his last name's like Butcher, and I know he's like the son of
Yeah,
like.
and I'm thinking I'm not 100% sure, but I'm thinking he's the cousin of Jason Butcher who fights in UFC.
Oh, he's the
Because they're
cousin.
both from Hamlin. Yeah, they're both from Hamlin, cousin, brother, or something. I don't know. They're both from Hamlin, West Virginia. I don't know. I'm sure there's not so many butchers there. It's a small town. So I'm sure they're related somehow. Yeah, so he trains at Category 5 as well. Let's see, and so we've already talked about all 3 of those fights. Okay. Yeah. So do you have anything you want to before we get off here? You got anything you want to say to your friends, family, followers, anybody else?
Well, Saturday, which is when the fight is actually my grandfather's birthday. So it's I believe it's his 68th birthday. So I'm gonna be coming in there with you know, every time I fight, I got God on my mind, claim every victory I can in the Lord's name. But I might also have my grandfather on my mind, and I'm gonna honor the victory in his name as well this weekend. So I can't. He told me I can't go out there and lose. So just expect me to really throw the kitchen sink out there as soon as the fight starts.
Can't lose on Grandpa's birthday.
No, I can't. But other than that, I'd like to just thank all my sponsors. I got a new shirt I got coming out that came out that I'll be selling at the event. So if you like my fight, or if you are messing with the cool design of the shirt, I go by Game Over Gage. So I got like a little 8-bit version of me on the shirt. It's pretty cool. Make sure you buy one, or I might be throwing some out for free. I guess we'll find out. But I think it's gonna be a really fun card, and I feel like for this being in Lexington, I feel like a lot of people need to show out.
Yeah, it's everybody this Saturday night at the Central Bank Center. Gage, Mitchell, Kendale Young, the co-main event of the night, plus the other guys from Hayes MMA, 3 of them. We may have more grapplers matched before then, so we may end up with a few more. Saturday night. You can get tickets at newlinecagefighting.com. Pay-per-view is going to be on YouTube, and look forward to it, man. Can't wait to see you in there.
Oh yes, sir.
We'll see you Friday at weigh-ins.
I'll see you then.
Yep. Thanks for coming on.
All right. Thanks for having me.